Achoo! Moo? Boo! No, don't worry, I've not travelled through a creaky door, sneezed at all the dust before blowing a trumpet, confusing a cow and making the crowd angry. I only do that sort of thing on a Saturday. I was just playing Uproar, the very funny game of silly sounds from Macmillan. It's a super simple but incredibly fun play, suitable for anyone of any age at all, as long as you can read, match words, and most importantly, make amazing noises like surprised cat, meow, or bubbles, or twit twoo. Can you guess what that was? Yeah, that's right, a sad owl. Twit twoo. Oh wait, that wasn't me that time. I am a sad owl. Oh no, why are you sad? Because I'd like to have a go at funny noises too. Oh, okay, go on then. If you go to macmillan.fun and use the code CC4K, you'll get a fancy 10% off the brilliant Uproar game. What sound effect was that? Rubbish podcast host. Oh. As the sad owl, who is rubbish at sound effects, says, head to macmillan.fun and have a look at any of their brilliant, very funny games, including the wonderful Uproar. And if you're listening to this podcast, you can use the code CC4K to get a whole 10% off. Woohoo! I'm a happy owl now. You are listening to Comedy Club for Kids presents Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense. Hello and welcome to... Oh, goodness, this is boring, isn't it? I'm so bored of saying the same thing again and again and again. It's so boring. Radio Nonsense, blah, blah, blah. The Comedy Club for blah. Pod blah. For all ages from blah to blah. I've got to find a way to make it more interesting this week, don't I? So many things get boring when you do them loads, right? When you have to do them again and again and again, like brushing your teeth. Oh my goodness, brushing your teeth is so boring. Every day, twice a day, or... even worse, 14 times a day if you're a snail, because your teeth are underneath you, and then you sort of slime around on your teeth, and you crawl on all sorts of horrid things, so you probably have to brush them extra amounts for that. I don't know, like 14, 15 times? How do snails brush their teeth? Do they just sort of crawl onto a toothbrush and then wiggle and then leave? I've no idea, but I bet that toothbrush goes really slimy and gross. I wouldn't want to use that. That is... horrid. Anyway, but every day, you and me, with our not snail teeth, we have to do brushing in the morning and brushing in the night, up the top and at the back, down the bottom at the back, little circles at the front, and then all over again and again and again and again and again and again for 2 minutes every single day ever. And sure... brushing your teeth is less boring than having no teeth at all and all of them falling out and then every day having to eat soup for every single meal. Soup for breakfast, soup for lunch, soup for dinner. I mean, that would be great for about 3 days, maybe even a week, like a big soup festival. But after that, boring. Soup is boring. So, brushing your teeth is better and less boring than a life of soup. But also, right, it's still boring and... there are little things you could do to change it and make it a little bit fun. You know, instead of doing little circles, do little star shapes, little dodecahedrons. Maybe while you're brushing your teeth, you can make this noise. Ah! Or maybe instead of toothpaste, you could use peanut butter or a snail. No, sorry, that's disgusting. Definitely still use toothpaste. What I'm saying is that things do get boring when you have to do them again and again and again. So you have to kind of change them a little bit to keep them interesting, don't you? So this week... I've decided I'm going to start the show differently because I'm bored of the normal intro. Okay, how to make this fun? Oh, maybe this noise. This is Radio Nonsense and it's a podcast and hello and farts. No, hang on, that doesn't really get all the information across, does it? Does anyone know what ages it's for? Okay. Are you 400 years old? Are you -12? Who cares? Welcome to Radio Nonsense, which is for all of you, even if you have no bum. Does that work? That's a bit more interesting, isn't it? I quite enjoyed that voice. I don't really know. Maybe I'll just do it normal, but I'll say it in a weird way, like, welcome to Radio Nonsense, the official Kumada Club for chords, podcast for everyone of all ages from Blair to Blair. I'm not sure. Is that a bit more interesting? Well, I mean, what I am sure about, though, is the brilliant entries that you've been sending in for the Uproar competition. You might remember that every single week to win a copy of Uproar, the brilliantly fun game of silly sounds from Macmillan, I've been asking you to send in your impressions of noises that you have to do in the game. A few weeks ago, I asked if you could send in the sound of a happy frog, and you lot have sent in these! So here is Theo's very, very happy frog. He is so happy, that frog. He sounds like he's jumped on a trampoline and then jumped so high he's flown off into space. So no wonder he's happy, right? All the other frogs would be so jealous of a jump like that. They'd be like, you have got the biggest jump for a frog ever. Right, we've also got Chrissy's excellent selection of happy frog sounds.
Hi, Tiernan, it's me, Chrissy, and I would like to do the Uproar competition. So this is my entry for a happy frog. So first, there's a happy frog, which would sound like... And then there would be a frog which is happy, which would sound like, I'm a happy frog and I like life and I like things like pigeons and ducks because I want to be a bird when I grow up. And then there's a frog called Happy, which would sound like, I'm called Happy, and that's for my birth certificate and my passport because that's my name. And then there would be a type of frog which is called a happy frog, which is like a type of frog, and that would sound like, thank you, bye.
Oh, I love that, and I love the frog whose name is Happy. Can you imagine how annoying that would be if you weren't a happy frog, but everyone thought you were because it was on your passport, and they'd all be like, you must be happy. No, I'm afraid I am still sad, but my name is Happy. And that would just be, it'd be really annoying. And then we've got Kai and Oscar's brilliant happy frog noise. Have a listen to this.
Hi, Radio Nonsense. I'm Kai, and this is my little brother Oscar.
Hi.
Today I'm going to record my impression of a happy frog. Well, that's unrealistic. It would be in the normal impression. Okay, bye.
Oh, that was amazing. And I love that you've done a realistic noise and a not at all realistic noise, and they are both brilliant. Thank you so much. And it's meant to be one winner of Uproar per week, but because I said I made a silly mistake, and last week I said we hadn't had any happy frog noises sent in, and it turns out we did, and they'd gone into the wrong email-y bit, into the wrong email sack. I think a squirrel carried them into the wrong sort of letterbox. I don't really know how it works, but I missed them. So, as a sorry, you all win a copy of Uproar, and it should have been sent to you already. And if you, the rest of you, would like to win a copy of Uproar too, then get your phone need botty ploppers, grown-ups, to help you record your impression on a phone or computer, or by whispering it into a jar and closing the lid very quickly. No, okay, maybe that doesn't work. But anyway, the other two, you can send it to me right here at Comedy Club for Kids HQ by emailing me at podcast@comedyclub4kids.co.uk. If you can't record it, then maybe draw a picture of what you think it looks like, or even find a way to write down an impression and email it over, and all of those will do as well. Last week, you might remember, I asked for the noise of a video game. There is still time to send that in. And this week, let me just shuffle the Uproar cards deck here. Let me just have a little look. Oh, can you do the sound of an angry whisper? So that's an impression of a video game and an angry whisper. You only have to do one or the other, or both if you really like. Please send them in. Also, don't forget, if you want to send in any jokes you've written, things you want to tell me about, or most importantly, questions that need to be answered on this here show, then do get those foam need botty ploppers, grown-ups, to help you email us at... Hang on, or maybe I can say this email differently too. podcast@comedyclubforkids.co.uk. Yeah, that's better, isn't it? That's better. Linda, do you think that was interesting, Linda? Do you think that was more... Linda? Where is Linda? Maybe I should say Linda in a more interesting way. Linda! Indalil! No, she's still not turning up, me. Well. Anyway, of course, you can also check where we're doing live shows at comedyclubforkids.co.uk. Thanks to everyone who's come to see us at the Edinburgh Fringe so far this year. I'm going to be up there next week doing a few of them myself. And I'll be at Camp Festival Shropshire on the Saturday too. If you're there as well, do come and say hello. And don't forget to grab our t-shirts and our book at comedyclubforkids.store. Now, how do I say this next bit in an interesting, different way? Oh, wait, hang on. It's already interesting and different because it's the most importantest bit. Boring. It is a delight to be joined once again on Radio Nonsense by Helen Duff, a.k.a. Hey Duffus, a.k.a. Duff Duff, who has no time for marshmallow fluff. And, of course, to all of our Shona-speaking listeners, you are none other than Ayo Anatoya Zivikuru Mposita. But, of course, you are most famous for that time you sneezed over the entire Horse Guards parade, for being creator of roller skates but for your bum, and, I mean, this still astounds me, for being the only person to know all the words to the Hokey Cokey, which it turns out has 700,004 ancient verses. Helen, it is such a joy to have you back on the show. How are you?
I'm so happy to be here. And actually, honestly, people so regularly forget that I invented roller skates for your bum. And it's a shame because there are now marathon races around the Sahara roller skating on your bum. And I don't get any credit.
What? They don't... Really? They don't credit you at all? Because, I mean, I've heard about those. They're quite spectacular.
Yeah, you have to bring all of your equipment with you, all of your water. You can't wash during the race because it's just non-stop. And it's a big distance, the Sahara, obviously. And you have to just sit on the roller skates on your bum and go as fast as you can down the hills. And then obviously use your hands and sometimes your chin to get up the hills.
Yes. I mean, it's quite an effort. And it's particularly in that sort of climate, I'd have thought. And, I mean, you say you can't pause, but also because the roller skate's stuck to your bum, you can't go to the loo either.
I mean, in many ways, you don't really want to. All of the juddering sort of just pushes it all back up.
Sure, that's one plus, I suppose, of such an endurance race.
Gets very compacted.
I mean, how do you feel? Is that kind of when you wanted it? You know, because people can be funny with their inventions. You know, you invented this beautiful, wonderful thing that so many children, adults, grandparents, pets loved, and now it's being used, you know, without crediting you. Is this where you'd hoped it would go?
Do you know what, Tiernan? It was always an altruistic effort. If people don't know what altruistic means, it means selfless. It means not for myself. And it was definitely not for myself. I did it originally for a dog who didn't have any back or front legs. And so we just thought, stick him on roller skates on his bum, give him a new lease of life. And then it just went like wildfire from there, really.
Wow. And how is that dog doing today?
Doofus the dog is doing very well.
That's lovely to know. Still sort of just zapping up, still got a roller skate on his bum? Is it one or two on his bum?
Oh, it's just one because he's quite a small dog. We tried two and it sort of put him off balance. So it's just one for him. But there are other dogs I've seen who have done two, like, you know, your St. Bernards.
Yes. Yeah, I was going to say it would very much depend on the creature, how many roller skates are. And obviously for sort of grown-ups, it tends to be two. But then you've got like ones for babies, haven't you? It's just sort of the one.
Yeah, just a very small one as well.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they get lost in the boot.
Yeah. And do they have to be like training skates, like those the sort of play school ones you used to have as a kid, where they've got little breaks? Because I remember the first roller skates I got, I wasn't allowed proper roller skates. I had to have the little training ones, which was safe.
With a little rubber stopper on the front so that you can kind of kick forward and break yourself. Yeah. It really depends on how risky you are as a butt roller.
Right.
Because obviously, if you want to do certain tricks, having the parallel blades is quite important to be able to do the swivel, the kicks, the butt kicks, the butt triplets, the butt rolls, the butt ripples, the butt eclairs. You can't do a butt eclair with a stopper on the front. That's something we realised in Switzerland, actually.
Right.
On top of a mountain.
Can I ask, did that...
We were trying to do a big butt eclair as a sort of group effort. I think there were 200 of us on top of this snowy mountain doing a butt eclair, and a couple of people had got the stopper skates, and they actually meant we didn't get the world record.
Wow. And were they... I mean, surely though they were safe because they had the stopper, or was that not the case?
Yeah, they didn't hurt themselves, but they ruined our efforts to get into the Guinness Book of World Records for the biggest butt eclair on top of a snowy mountain as a collective effort.
Wow. Are you still talking to them? Is that?
I haven't spoken to them in years.
No, I don't blame you. It's pretty horrendous. What an awful thing to do. It's very selfish, actually. Very selfish indeed. I mean, are you seeing this because it is becoming so popular? You know, are you seeing it maybe in the Olympics in a few years' time?
It might be, Tin, and as I said, it's out of my hands now. It's really gone from strength to strength. It's a phenomenon across TikTok, Instagram, Rafa John, Bishi Bishi, and of course the biggest one in Indonesia, Lokaton. That's their favourite social media app out there. So even if I tried to make a claim to it for the Olympics, even if I tried to train my own dogs, let alone hedgehogs, to be in the Olympics doing the butterclares, I don't think I get a look in.
Oh, that's really sad. I mean, does it mean, do you still enjoy wearing your butt roller skates yourself, or is it now, as you said, I know you said it's out of your hands, but I suppose it always was because it was on your bum. But you know, do you still, do you feel a bit disconnected from it now, or are you kind of like, you still pop to the shops with your butt roller skates on?
I'm wearing them now. They're fantastic for posture because obviously you can't afford to sort of slouch forward. You'll roll off your chair. So yeah, I'm still a strong butt roller, a butt sitter.
Yes.
I sit on my butt. I sit on my butt skates. And I would have said out of my butt instead of out of my hands, but it just doesn't. It doesn't really ring right.
No, it does make it sound like you've pooed out the roller skates, which isn't what they're there for. If anything,
Which is obviously not what happens.
Push everything back up. So
yeah.
Wow, I mean, it is very. I mean, it's so exciting to have you on the podcast again. I know you've been with us before, and
yeah. Sorry, that was just the introduction to me, wasn't it? We haven't even started.
Yeah, but that's what we. I wanted to just find out how you're doing, and I hadn't. I didn't know since we last spoke. I hadn't realised where kind of butt skates had gone, and I think when we last spoke, you were just at the beginning of working out where you could perhaps put a roller skate. I think you were on the process of, was it like skateboards for heads, or you were like, was it like, what was it, rollerblades for knees, ice skates for toe? You had a drawing
ice skates for tongues. Yeah. I tried ice skates for tongues, and that did not end well.
I can imagine.
Luckily, I didn't try it on any live lizards, but we did a few prototypes because obviously they've got the longest tongues. So we made a few cardboard lizards and tried ice skates for tongues with them. And it just, I think you can, as you would expect, sliced straight through, which in a way was kind of fun because it gave you a double tongue situation. And obviously lizards, they kind of roll them back in, don't they? Yeah. Like a party popper, but backwards. But we didn't try it on any live lizards because we thought that would be both cruel and also quite bloody.
Yes, do you know, that's very good. I mean, this podcast is absolutely against all sorts of animal cruelty. Animal fun, absolutely fun. Absolutely put butt roller skates on dogs, that's totally fine. But slicing lizards' tongues, which also, because some lizards have tongues that are already in two, so then they end up with 4 tongues. I think that would get really confusing.
Most lizards have tongues like a little bit in two, so slightly forked at the end. Yeah. So this would have been a situation where they sort of, they unravelled outwards, almost like if you imagine, at very posh events when they have a red carpet that goes down a set of stairs and you see it unravel, slowly down the stairs or sometimes quite quickly. It would be like that, but 2 sets of red carpets going at a diagonal down the stairs. So nobody knows exactly which way they're supposed to walk. And the poor lizard at the top, who's got the red carpet that's actually their sliced open tongue, is in real trouble.
People just stepping on its tongue, and it's like, I want to eat flies.
People stepping on its tongue.
Got a foot on there instead, and it's not a nice situation. I always wonder though why their tongues are forked and not like. Must be annoying not to have like a knifed tongue for when you want a bit of butter on your bread or something, on your fly spread. You don't have a spork tongue would be quite handy. A forked feels like sometimes useful, but chopstick tongue.
Plus, with a forked tongue on a lizard, it's often just 2 sprongs. Right. Whereas a functional fork, you normally have 3 sprongs,
so it's like a chip fork, isn't it? Chip forks have two.
It's much like a spork. Yeah. It's more that they've got a spork than a fork on that tongue.
Which is, I think one of the best bits, because it's like a spoon and a fork, so you don't have to bother having a spoon and a fork. That is brilliant. Yeah.
I don't know about that, Tiernan. I think a spork is both an under par spoon and fork. You've mixed them together and then you've lost the best bits of both.
Wow. What about the ones that have got a little, like a sort of knife bit on the side of the spoon bit? So it's
I've never seen such a thing.
A knife fork. A finnifoon. A finnifoon? Maybe it's a finnifoon. What about those?
Maybe it's a finnifoon. Yeah. I've never had one of those. I never even knew they existed. What do you use them for? Slicing yogurt?
I think just for everything. I think you just sort of carry them around in case you're lost in the wilderness and you need to do everything at once, but you don't have space about you to carry a fork, knife, and spoon because you're in the wilderness, and so you've got to carry all the other things. You need like snake spray and a big hat. You know.
I was just thinking about, I often on the road when I'm doing comedy shows will have one of those oat cluster yogurts,
Yes.
which comes with its own tray / bowl that you pour the yogurt into. Then you put the clusters on top, and I often buy a banana to go with. So I would slice the banana with the side of the spinork.
Finnefoon?
Finnefoon.
Yeah, that's what I'm calling it.
And then I would spoon the yogurt into my mouth. But what do I use the fork element for? If I want to spear a cluster?
Yeah, or if anyone is trying to steal bits of your yogurt, you can just sort of jab them with it. So it's like
That's true. People often look at it with quite a lot of admiration / jealousy on the tube.
Keep away from my yogurt. Yeah, just yeah. So I think that's
perfect.
It's got. I think it's. I know you were not happy with the sport, but I'm gonna back especially back the Finnefoon. I think it's
Finnefoon.
It is definitely the way forward. It's yes, a lot to think about. I mean, I was just going to ask you how you are really. As we've discussed all the issues with the roller skates, but are you well? Are things good?
I think I'm well. I'm struggling because normally I would say, oh, I'm having a sunny day, or oh, I'm having a rainy day, to describe like feeling a bit cloudy in my head or feeling like I've got a load of sunshine bursting out of my chest, right? But today I'm feeling a bit cloudy in my head because it's such a sunny day and has been such a sunny day for so many days on the trot. Does that make sense? So I'm now confused about whether sunny is actually a good thing when you've had too much sun and you really just want some rain.
Wow, it's like too much sunny head causes a cloudy head. Is that
precisely?
Yeah, that really throws off how we understand weather in every way. I like that. And you never get the weather forecast going, today it's going to be so sunny, it'll be cloudy. And you'd be like, I don't know what to wear.
Today it'll be so sunny, you'll feel like you've got clouds of cotton wool in your head because you've got too hot and you can't really think straight.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they should say.
So would you have to wear cloud appropriate headgear with sun appropriate body wear?
What, so a bikini and a rain mat?
Yes.
With the hood up and an umbrella.
Which I'm sure I've seen people do at fashion shows and things. That's a very cool look, I think.
I think I've seen people do that out on the street. In Miami, they have really heavy rain showers when it's hot, like torrential storms. They have this in lots of other places too, Bangladesh, Costa Rica. And often people will be in very light clothing because the rain is quite warm, and a rain mat and an umbrella with flip-flops.
Oh, that's good. And then the rain would clear the cloudiness in your head, so you'd have to take the rain mat off, but then you'd have your sunny gear on. So it sort of works out.
So you could go straight in the pool after, yeah.
That's really good, that is. I mean, it's one of those things, we're discussing, the Finnefoon. Like, why don't we have clothes that are just everything all at once? That'd be quite handy, wouldn't it?
Well, people do have see-through rain mats. So in a way, that's like, well, I was going to say light clothing because you can see through it, but actually it's not really very functional because often people don't really want to see through just your naked body.
No.
So in a way, a see-through rain mat is kind of more useless than one that you can't see through.
Yeah, I don't know if that's... I don't know what you're saying with that. It's like, I'm out in the rain, but I'd like you to see my bum. It's a strange... I don't know what the thought process is with that. But, fair enough. Maybe some people do. Maybe some people think the way to cheer up others in a rainy time would be for them to see their bum.
I might find that quite funny. I find bums quite funny.
Are very funny. And they probably would make me like, if I was like, oh, it's really horribly rainy, there's 12 bums, I think that would
12 bums inside 12 rain mats, and maybe some people have gone to the trouble to put a smiley face on their bum.
Well, then, I mean, maybe that's what it is, because then you're not being rude because you've still got some clothes on, but you have also got your bum out. So,
and you've acknowledged that you've got your bum out by putting a smiley face on it.
Yeah.
So it's not like people have to worry, oh, should I not look at their bum because they don't know the bum's out?
Yeah. It's a smiley bum.
They've said, no, it's fine. my bum is out. I know it is. And to show you that I know, I've let my bum smile at you.
This is the way. This is what I get. I get very miserable. You know, I can get a bit miserable when it's sort of autumn and when it's really rainy, and then winter and it's rainy, and spring when it's rainy, and summer when it's a bit rainy. And so, you know, I think that could definitely be a way. I think we could cheer people up through those seasons.
Well, it's funny because you say, I was just thinking to myself, well, we wouldn't want to be out in a wintry rainstorm with nothing on except a see-through rain mac and a smiley bum. But I have seen, for real, some really good trousers that have a face cut out in them on the bum bit.
What?
So, like, imagine where the pocket would be on a pair of jeans, like the back pocket. A face, so 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth cut as a hole in that space.
Oh my goodness!
So you could be smiling at people with trousers on. You could give someone a smiley bum. A bum smile. We've had roller bum. We've had bum roller skates.
Oh, but
we've had bum skates, bum eclairs, and now we've got a smiley bum trousers. And the good thing about smiley bum trousers, you can try this at home. If you've got an old pair of trousers, take a pair of scissors. Ask your caregiver first if it's okay for you to cut them. If it is, fine, because it might be somebody else's pair of trousers, and it could be their favourite pair of trousers. They don't want a smiley bum. But if it's fine, cut a smile, maybe 2 eyes and a nose, but just the smile could be fun, in the area where the pocket would be on the back. And then underneath, you can wear a bright pair of pants. You can wear a bright pair of shorts. It doesn't need to be skin directly showing for the smile to work. It just needs to be a contrasting colour.
Yeah, which is a really good idea, actually. I mean,
or even just put like an old packet of crisps down the back.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a crisp smile. Have a crisp bum smile.
Have a crisp smile. Yeah,
That's a lovely idea. What a lovely creative idea to give to the listeners. That's fantastic. I mean, I've got 2 immediate.
I could come back, Tiernan. I could be your craft. I could be your craft tips. I could be in craft corner.
I would be overjoyed. I would be overjoyed if you do that. And obviously, craft corner a bit different to a yogurt corner. You wouldn't need a Philippine to be there.
Yeah, but I could be in the craft corner eating my yogurt corner, so that would make me very happy.
It's very safe though as well. You wouldn't need the fork bit. You just need a spinoof, and a spoon. Yeah. You wouldn't.
Yeah. Or I could just. Oh, I was going to say I could just use a pair of scissors. That's really dangerous. Now we're back in ice skate tongue territory.
I mean, we've got to be. I'm going to have to put warnings all over this podcast. I don't know where, but probably somewhere. I also had a realization that while you were saying that, I think were I a newsreader, I'd want my name to be Smiley Bum Trousers. That's the name.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yes.
Because then people would take you extremely seriously.
Here is the news. I am Smiley Bum Trousers, and the headlines are. It's a really good newsreader name, I think.
Yeah, a great, insightful and quite troubling report there from Smiley Bum Trousers about the impending economic crisis.
Yeah, it's perfect, isn't it? It's a really good name for I think that's what I'm going to consider it after this. After we record this, I might change my name and start doing news. I think it's. Well, I mean, so much to think about already. We barely even started the show. I appreciate it. So much wisdom from you. This is exactly what our listeners need. You've done this show before, so I'm aware that you know the questions I have to ask you before we get to the very important one. And I'm also aware that you've done these questions before, but I do need to check again because it's official. This is an audio podcast. You know that bit. Most of our listeners listen to it with their ears, but as we often say, we don't mind if they will listen to it with their bums or their knees or their eyes, however they want to do it. That's fine with us. But because it's audio, I just wondered if you had a favourite noise that you could make for us, or at least tell us about.
Yeah, so it's today's one. I don't know what I did last time. This is different. Today's one is going to be crunch.
Wow. Sorry, could you just do that again, please? That was...
It's going to be crunch.
Oh my! Wow, I've never heard that before. That was like a treat for the ears. That was in. It's the word. Can I just check? Is the word like crouch, but you've put an N in there, so it's like crown, but with a crunch?
No, it's like crunch, but because it's so crunchy, it's got an extra ouch. So we often use it at home if we want something, if we're eating something that's too soft, too pappy, a little bit, and we need a little bit of crunch in there. We'll say, oh, what's going to be our crunch element at this meal? Because we've discovered during the pandemic, food obviously became extra important because it was the most fun thing that was happening in a day. You need in a food something soft, creamy, salty, sweet, pickly, and also with a little bit of crunch.
I love it. Crunch is such a brilliant word because you're right. There are things that are just that sort of crunch isn't enough to describe it.
Crunch isn't enough.
Crunch.
And I also wonder if crunch just isn't right. Like if somebody just like misspelled crunch, because when you just think about it. Okay, imagine in your head you've got one of those crisps that's really ridgy and that you know in your mouth is gonna go crunch. You know it's going to go crunch. It's not going to go crunch. No. It's actually, when you hear the two compared, you think to yourself, oh my God, oh my goodness, that's what's been going wrong all this time. I've been going crunch in my head and it's always felt slightly wrong, slightly off. But now when I take a crouch, I go crunch. It fits.
I instantly think like a really crisp apple goes crunch. It doesn't go crunch. Yeah, you're right. It goes crunch. There's a lot of words like that though. I always thought we always say that dogs go woof, but they don't really go woof. They go ruff, right? So
Yeah, very true.
And we should change.
And
it.
Also, I guess in Spanish or French, do dogs go woof, or do they go woof?
In French, as I learnt from many years of reading comic books that like sort of Tintin or Asterix, things like that, they always or like Disney ones, whatever. There was always like a dog that would go whoa whoa, and that's what they do.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
whoa whoa
whoa. And I suppose there is sort of like if it's a bit of a scaredy dog, it could be like, whoa whoa. It could be that, but I've never seen a dog go whoa like.
My baby is 1 year old and his first word is dog, but he's not actually saying dog. So I was told when babies start to speak, when kids start to learn to speak, they don't always get the word right the first time, but their first word is when they consistently make the same noise and point at the same thing. So it's when they're labeling one thing in particular. So it's definitely dog, because whenever we see dogs, he says it, but instead of saying dog, he says dead. So it's quite embarrassing because he really loves dogs. So he'll be crawling after a dog, and we don't have a dog, so it's always somebody else's dog. And the owner will be smiling at him and saying, hello, do you want to say hello to my dog? And he'll look at them and nod and say, dead.
Wow.
Dead. And he'll be pointing at their dog. And I don't want the owner to think that he has sort of second sight and that he's basically seen into the dog's future and is saying, your dog's soon going to be dead. I don't think that's what's happening, but he is going around pointing at a lot of dogs and saying dead. And potentially the owners are worried that he's seen their future. And
or like he's a dog assassin and he's particularly going around going, you're dead,
exactly.
You mess with me, you're dead. And take you down.
Dead.
Yeah.
Dead.
Which is quite, wow. That's fascinating, isn't it? When my daughter was very, very little, she thought that cats made this noise. So if you said, can you make a noise of a cat? She'd go, and I don't know how that
sounds like a German spy. That sounds like a German spy.
It's a very good noise. I was very impressed. I mean, I have to say, though, crunch is going to be added to my vocabulary instantly.
Good.
It was a very, very good word. A good
crunch.
I mean, you say it way better than I think I ever could. But it is superb.
I think I put a bit of cat into it probably at the beginning. Crunch.
Yeah, that's a really cool cat, though. If the cat's doing that, I'd be like, I don't think you can be anyone's pet. You need to lead a little gang around the bins.
Yeah.
And
potentially make your own oat cluster cereal and sell it to the cats.
Yeah. Well, I'll add that to the list of so many things to create already. This is so exciting. And of course, Ellen, I've got to ask you one more question, one more sort of admin-y question. And that is, again, you've been through this before. This is a family-friendly podcast. It's suitable for people of all possible ages, every age you can imagine. Can you imagine an age? I just need to check.
937.
Yeah, absolutely fine for them. Absolutely fine for all ages, not 100, long story, but every other age, absolutely suitable for. And so I just need to check if there are any rude words you won't be saying.
I won't be saying any rude words, especially not shish kebab.
No, good. Wow, no, because to me that's almost like the opposite of crouch. That is so, no.
Shish kebab.
No, don't. Yeah, don't. I mean, I think you're very wise not to say it on this show. I should say, because I've checked all the sort of guidelines for podcasts and things, I think you can say shish kebab. But I think if you say shish kebab, then suddenly we step into
Yeah.
territory.
Because shish kebab is a very delicious treat, right? Very tasty treat. But shish kebab is on another level.
It's awful, and I can't imagine the complaints we would get were you to say. I think we'd have just streams and streams of emails. I think people would probably attach things to carrier pigeons and send them our way. We'd get endless.
Well, don't you worry. I will not be saying shish kebab one more time.
Well, I appreciate you not saying
more.
shish kebab. I definitely will not say shish kebab even once. And thank you very much for caring.
Thank you, because I actually personally hate it. It makes me feel physically sick.
Yeah.
Every time I hear shish kebab, I want to find a little bucket. I want to find a big old butt roller skate and have a little stick in it.
I hope you don't. I'm pleased you won't have to do that during this show. So thank you.
Thank goodness.
Very much. And now, Helen, you know, the reason I've got you here, or the reason, one of the reasons I've asked you back, obviously, because it's a delight to have you back anyway. But this question, I think, that we've been sent in is for you. I think you're the person that can answer this. And it's from Aden, aged 8, and Aden has sent it's a very formal email. It says, "Hi, I would like to submit my question." Oh, it's quite formal, isn't it? From Aden. I should say I don't know how he says, or they. Aden. I don't know. They are aged 8, and I don't know if that's 8 years or 8 like beans. I don't know if it's 8. You know, sort of decades. I don't know how they. So we'll just sort of assume it's 8 years.
Eggs.
Could be 8. They could be aged 8 eggs. And Aden here has asked, why is gold not man-made?
Oh, interesting question. Why is gold not man-made? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Tiernan, but I always thought it's because male makers struggle to make gold without slipping chocolate inside of it.
Yeah.
So if they tried to bargain it on the stock market, if they tried to sell it for, I don't know, however much gold goes for, the price of gold, if they attempted to build gold bullion pyramids out of it, then there was always trouble because it ultimately just melted in the sun.
Yes.
And they looked around and they went, oh no, you're joking. Is this the man-made gold? Is this the gold that's been made? This is gold that's been made by men. Why didn't anybody tell us? Because they always slip chocolate inside it.
Yeah, which is, you know, because I think a lot of people don't realise the historical value of chocolate coins, which were the original coins, weren't they? The original coins before women or anyone else was allowed to make coins.
Yeah, and then when women got involved, who were the people who had to clean the pockets, they said, why don't we take the chocolate out of the inside of these coins and fill them with the gold that they're covered in, the gold layer that is the outer shell? Why don't we just make that solid from the outside to the inside? And then we no longer need to keep cleaning chocolate out of your pockets all day.
Yes. I mean, it was a really sensible move. I think it was a really sensible move. I mean, I remember sort of reading about the times when all the banks melted and then everyone ate the banks. And that was, there was as well where there was no money whatsoever. Do you remember when the king, I think at the time, had his crown eaten? You know, so
yeah, that was the revolution of 1653.
Yes,
when the king had his crown eaten.
Yeah. So
they said, "Shall we dunk the king in the lake? Shall we hang the king up by his socks off Big Ben? Shall we set fire to the king's underpants in the night so that when he wakes up he's got no underpants left?" Oh no, I know what we'll do. We'll just eat his crown.
Yeah, which is funny you say.
And that was the ultimate undoing.
Because their first thing was, shall we dunk him in the lake? But I believe they dunked his crown in some tea and then ate it.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah.
Quite risky business, given that chocolate melts very quickly unless
very
it's
risky business.
attached to a biscuit.
Yeah, but I believe it made a rather sort of chocolatey tea, so they were very pleased with it. That led kind of to the next sort of king arriving with a very different headgear altogether.
Yeah, just a metal crown.
Yes, but I believe it had I think it had a little sort of smiley butt print on it, didn't it? Isn't that right?
A smiley butt print on the back. So what was that? I don't know actually much about that king. So was that crown, other than the fact that he had a metal crown, because they'd obviously realised that going around with a chocolate crown wasn't great if it meant you could be disposed, taken off the throne just by somebody eating it. So was the king who came afterwards, his crown, did it have a butt drawn on it with a smiley face on it? Or did it just have a smiley, right?
Yeah, no, it was a butt drawn. He was King Gringelbert the Stonkfifth. And he thought that his what do you call it, coat of arm of coats. What is it? Is it that you have one arm with loads of coats on it, or you have a coat with lots of arms on it? I can't remember.
I think it's a coat with lots of arms on it.
Right, so like for an octopus, if they need to go outside or something.
Yeah, except it's human arms,
Right.
So each of the arms has little hands at the end.
Oh, that's
like gloves.
That's lovely. That's really well. His coat of arms, with always little hands on the end, was just basically a big bum. One side of it had the smiley face on it. The other side, I think it had, what was it? Because it was like medieval times, so it was his favourite weapon, which I think was a pea shooter, and a kazoo. And then he'd have that on either side of the bum, and that was his coat of arms.
Incredible. I wish I'd seen it. Maybe I'll go to the British Museum and look it up.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be there. That's where they have all those things, isn't it? Except for that, obviously they don't have any of the chocolate gold because that melted and was eaten.
Yeah, which is such a shame. It's such a shame to have lost such a huge part of our history to people's appetites and also just the sun.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and it really changed because don't they, what do they call it? What do you say the word was? Bouillon? Bouillon?
Bouillon,
yeah.
Billion.
Gold billy. That like people say that they judge how much other things cost on the price of gold billy bull, don't they?
And also, obviously, what I should point out, because I said that women were getting very tired of always having to clean chocolate out of everybody's pockets when they were using chocolate money. It's not because women wanted to do all the washing. It was because at that time, that was the only thing they were allowed to do, really, washing and a bit of, as a mother, household tasks. But then once the money was made solid gold, that was the beginning of the emancipation of women because they no longer had to spend so much time scrubbing chocolate out of everybody's trousers.
Of course. It was also, which is hugely important for history. And also, not to take away from that, there was an important time when it then meant that if anybody had sort of marks like that on their shorts, they'd pooed themselves, and it wasn't at all to do with coins.
Yeah, exactly. Which before it was very difficult to tell the difference.
Yes, it was, yeah.
So it's just nice, just hygienic, really, to be able to say, oh, right, that person's pooed themselves, rather than that person's probably got a load of cash in their pockets.
Yeah, absolutely. And am I right in thinking it's now why sort of women are generally sort of live in gold places now, and because they sort of invented they get freebies, don't they?
Yeah, because it was a woman who originally came up with the idea to just make everything solid gold rather than chocolate injected inside the gold, because obviously they had to use quite a big syringe each time they did it. Women, when they get to a certain age, I'm not going to say what age because it kind of spoils the surprise, they just inherit a big treasure trove.
Yeah, I mean, listeners will be too...
They're allowed to do with it what they will.
I was going to say listeners will be too young to know about this, but there was a whole series called The Golden Girls, which is entirely about that, I believe. Very famous show. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. And they made everything out of gold, did they? Trousers, glasses,
I think they were gold. I think
glasses.
They had faces of gold, bums of gold. I think they were just generally gold all over. Yeah.
So quite heavy to pick up then.
Yeah. They looked quite annoyed about it. Sometimes.
Didn't go swimming very often.
No. So it's actually quite an inconvenient. Not a lot happened.
Yeah.
The show. It ran for years.
I like to swim, so I'm not sure I'd like to be solid gold because I just sink straight to the bottom of the pool.
Yeah.
Unless you get used to it. unless you just get used to carrying your own weight. And then you're like a bit of a danger to other swimmers, to be honest, because you know how sometimes people are really aggressive in the pool and they charge down one side of the lane and then charge up the other side, and occasionally they might barge you with their shoulder or whatever. If I was made of solid gold and I ended up being either barged or barging, I'd probably take somebody's eye out.
Yeah. And they'd be really angry about it. But then, like, because you're not meant to do a wee in the pool, but if you did do a wee, it would be gold wee, and then they'd get some free gold.
Oh, wow. I hadn't even thought about that. Is it painful to wee gold, or does it sort of solidify afterwards?
I mean, luckily, something I've never done myself.
I guess if you yourself are gold, maybe it's not so painful.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, I don't know. It's very curious.
It's a lot to think about,
There's a lot to
Tiernan.
think about. There's that story, isn't there, from the ancient times, which obviously now changes after this discussion. But there was a story about King Midas, who was a king that whenever he turned things, they turned to gold. Obviously, now we realise it was gold filled with chocolate, which would have had its own sort of hazard. Would you like to have that power? Would you like to have a power where you touch something, they all turn into the same thing? And what would you like to turn them into?
Oh, okay. Let's do this then. Well, I would say that if I was having a hot day like today, I'd quite like everything I touch to turn to ice cream. But then the problem is it's a hot day, so everything I've touched is melting almost immediately. I don't have a very big freezer. I can't fit it all in there. I also, as I mentioned, have a little baby. I'd rather he didn't turn to ice cream because I'd quite like him to grow up into a bigger boy and then potentially a man who can look after me in my old age. Whereas if he was an ice cream baby and then an ice cream boy and an ice cream old man who was looking after me, an even older woman in my extremely old age by that point, I'm concerned that he wouldn't be able to do things like help me out of the car, take me ice skating, put me on the train if he was made of ice cream. I'd also be very sticky all the time, I think.
Yeah, it would be really unpleasant quite a lot of time. And also in the winter, you'd be freezing.
Hanging around with
just ice cream.
All my ice cream mates.
That's it. Because everything you turn to ice cream, but you'd be like, well, I want to be warm now, but I've turned the radiator into an ice cream, and I've turned this hot cup of tea into an ice cream, and then when you're really cold.
What if I've got one hand ice cream maker and the other hot fudge sauce?
Oh my goodness. Well, then you'd be the most popular person in town.
I just have to be really careful about what I touch, I guess. Yeah. I just have to wear really good gloves.
Yeah, but I think that's doable. Or roller skates on your hands.
What about you? Is there anything you'd like to be able to turn stuff into by touching it?
It's tricky because immediately I thought crisps, or for our other listeners around the world, chips, but they're crisp. They're crisps really because they crouch.
Or for our other listeners around the world, krausps.
Krausps.
No, it doesn't work actually. Krausps doesn't work, does it?
Krasps again. I feel
Kraus
like
sounds
I'd quite like to be called Krasps. I think
Krausps sounds like an Austrian concert pianist.
Absolutely, I'm Kraus Spangles, and that would be my name as I play beautiful things. Except I wouldn't, because I'd turn things into crisps, and I'd touch the piano and it would turn into crisps. But...
So you think you'd like to turn things into crisps, but you wouldn't want to? What would be the disadvantages of being able to touch things that turn into crisps?
Well, again, like the big one is obviously, I love my daughter very much. I don't really want to turn her into crisps because then I have to eat her because I eat crisps if I see them.
Right.
But also things
what
like,
flavour? Any particular flavour?
Do you know what? I like a lot of flavours of crisps. My favourite flavour of crisps, this is going to cause, again, people are going to email in. My favourite flavour of crisps is tomato ketchup or paprika. Yeah.
Oh.
But I also like salt vinegar. I also like ready salted. I'm a big, there's quite a lot of flavours I can, you throw crisps at me, I'll probably eat them.
You don't want to eat salt and vinegar when you've got cuts in your mouth, though.
No, so I wouldn't want to turn everything into salt and vinegar crisps because, I'm diabetic. I have to go to the hospital quite often. If I turned the whole hospital into salt and vinegar crisps, people would turn up with like a cut on their knee, and then I'd make it worse. So that would be good.
You'd throw salt in the wound, by making their whole body salt and vinegar flavour.
Yeah. So I mean, really, already what we've both realised is that turning everything into just one thing would be absolutely terrible.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Because there's no world in which you'd want to turn everything into gold, crisps or ice cream. And therefore, that's a pretty solid scientific study we've done in a short space of time. No need for the NHS or any other national body to invest in researching whether or not it would be a good thing to be able to touch something and turn it into the same thing across the world.
You know, I am often upset,
You're welcome.
by how many people don't thank us for how educational this podcast is and the important research projects. Where's NASA? Where's the thank you from NASA? Unbelievable. You know,
I'm just going to throw a few things out. Bananas, no. Poo, no. Sand, no.
gerbils, no, definitely not.
No.
Spaghetti, no.
Though that one does sound quite fun.
Yeah.
For like 10 minutes, if everything you could touch turned into spaghetti, that would be quite fun, I think. Just for 10 minutes. And then it goes back.
But again, then all of these, I think, for 10 minutes would be maybe just limited.
I don't know. I think ice cream would be so stressful because you'd be so driven to just get as much of it into your mouth as possible before it all melts. Whereas spaghetti, maybe I don't like pasta enough to be obsessed with it, but I think it would just be far funner to swim through spaghetti than it would be to eat it.
I'd quite like to just go around touching like someone's hat, like somebody walking around with a lovely hat, and they turn it into spaghetti, and they got a head covered in spaghetti.
Yeah, touch someone's skirt, turns into spaghetti. Touch a bench, turns into spaghetti.
Yeah.
What would be fun is if the thing you touch retains its solidity. So whatever substance it had before, so say somebody's torso keeps functioning as a torso. Lungs, heart, bladder, whatever else is inside the body keeps working, but it just takes on the texture and flow of spaghetti.
Oh my goodness.
So say you touched a bench and that turned into spaghetti, you'd still be able to sit on the bench, it could still take your weight, but it also had the flexibility, the of lots of individual strands of spaghetti.
Do you know, I'd immediately touch the River Thames, and then I'd watch it flow with spaghetti for miles, and I would be really happy about this spaghetti river.
With the boats bobbing along inside it, and people just reaching over and having a handful of spaghetti.
Yeah, it's a beautiful dream, actually. You turned me around. We went from, like, absolutely not, this would be terrible, and now I think for 10 minutes and with spaghetti, it's actually a winning for me. So again, NASA, get in touch, NASA. We're on it. We're on it. So... yeah, well, thank you, Helen. I mean, I think that's, I hope Aden's happy with that answer. I think that's a pretty definitive answer to that very well asked question. I have to say, it was very, very politely written,
beautifully scripted, and now you never need to look on Wikipedia or the internet to find out the answer. You can just accept wholeheartedly what we've said today.
Absolutely. Or what was the Indonesian one that you said that they liked? The Indonesian site.
Oh, their social media, the Luftkunst.
Yeah, the Luftkunst. Yeah, that's it. So you don't need to check. You don't need to check there if you are a listener from there. Or where do they go? That Spiegelplop. I can't remember where they look at that. But there's you don't. Anyway, this is now the definitive learning place, and I'm it's because of guests like you, Helen, that it could be such a thing, and I'm so happy you could come back. So thank you very much for that.
Absolutely delighted. I'm very happy to come back to Craft Corner with a Crunch Corner, whenever you need.
Absolutely. Hopefully, very, very soon.
Great.
You're boring everybody. Quit boring everyone.
Thanks so much to Helen for not only answering Aiden's question so brilliantly, but also for crunch. I'm now going to be using that word and indeed sound on most days of my life. Aden, I hope you liked Helen's answer, and if not, do write your complaint in yogurt near a cat, and then the cat will eat it, and I'll never have to see it. Thanks. If you have a question you need answering, a joke that you've written that you want to send in, or your impressions of a video game, or angry whispers so that you can win a game of uproar, then do get your foam-kneed botty ploppers, grown-ups, to help you. Email us at podcast@comedyclub4kids.co.uk. See our live shows by checking comedyclubforkids.co.uk for when we're near you, and grab our t-shirts from comedyclubforkids.store. Oh, and next week, this isn't boring at all. I've got a very exciting announcement to tell you about. Yes, indeed. So do keep your ears, I don't know what you do with your ears, for excited, sort of get them ready, just sort of every now and then tell them, get ready, don't fall asleep. I don't know what you do, but get them ready somehow. Okay, I feel a bit less bored of everything now, I have to say, but I still have to say goodbye, don't I? I've still got to do the end bit, and that is so boring. Hang on, though. What if I end the show in a different way. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Could that work? Okay, I'm going to try, everyone. Get ready. Hello! You have been listening to Comedy Club for Kids Presents. Radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense. It's the end.